All right, we've had a lot of great questions come in. Have time for just a couple. One goes back to what you said before, you can't revoke biometrics. Somebody asks the question, what if my biometrics are compromised? Can you actually compromise biometrics?
A lot of states have made central repositories that go along with their driver's license and things of that nature, and we know of at least 2 or 3 that have gotten hit and lost those. That's why it's important to actually have the biometrics key something and not be the actual event. So yes, you cannot revoke biometrics, and that's a great question. People need to understand that better.
Yeah, great.
Good point.
Somebody asks, should I trust the strong password recommendations that cites autofill when I create an account? What do you think?
You know, I think it's got to be personal to you anyway, because if not, you're going to be resetting again and again if it's a password. Yeah. So making sure it's a strong password, but it's got something that you're going to remember is so important. If not, you're going to run the same problem. You're always resetting.
And we talked about passphrases, something that's easy for you to remember, but it gives the length and the complexity.
Yeah.
Or you throw caution to the wind and say, I don't care. Password is my password because I have multi-factor authentication.
The thing I see the most with the passwords and the auto-generated passwords is they're complex. You don't remember them. You're on a device that you can't copy and paste it. Your password manager is not on it, and so you end up going back and making a simple password anyway. So I think the convenience of it, unless you're really good at using your password manager, the goal really is consumer products now. The tokens that are out there to use with social media and things of that nature, and most modern applications will give you the ability to turn on some sort of MFA, and then just use whatever password you want that's easy to remember. I mean, it's terrible advice, and I hate to say it out loud, but even use the same password on everything.
That's terrible advice,
It's terrible advice.
I'm not going to let that one stand.
But here. MFA and tokenizing access is the way.
Okay, awesome. A question that I saw pop up earlier, what's the difference between IDS and IPS? I think we're talking about intrusion detection and intrusion prevention.
Right.
And that's one sounds an alarm, the other one actually does something to cut it off.
Correct. And so if in the real world space, the kinetic responder, changing a routing table, dropping a user for the IPS, where you're actually doing something as opposed to detection and monitoring. But it's the same thing too. We see in this industry phishing campaigns that enterprises run. Really, it's the notion of pulling the fire alarm and then seeing who dies. It's better. It's better. Whether it's a drill or not. Those types of tests are not teaching the right thing. So what we really needed to spend time on instead is cryptographic exchanges. Intrusion detection will always be important. Intrusion prevention doesn't prevent insider threat, and that's a whole different ballywick, if that's the word.
We'll do another episode.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a little bit of a sidestep from the conversation today that is a whole different conversation. Yeah.
Great. We have a lot of questions. All right, I am going to ask one more. Your guys' opinion. It's got to be quick.
Okay.
What do you think about password managers?
I think today we need them until we can move towards passwordless, yes, but I think it's nice and it does add a level of convenience. Again, we're keeping the lock and key separate.
Yep.
So if we can do that, then we really, that eliminates a lot of the risks that we have.
And still put MFA on top of that.
Yes.
First line of defense, password manager probably helps you toughen that up with complexity in your passwords and not having to remember them or post-it note it. But then always.
Which is exactly what we do internally at Cisco here today, right? We do have a password manager, but then we also have MFA on top of that. Yeah.
Great.